Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Families Fly Free podcast. I'm your host, Lynn Mettler, the creator of Families Fly Free, which is my membership where I share my simple system to maximize the miles that you have to always be able to fly your whole family for free. And we provide you with the community, the real-time information, and the support that you need to be continually successful year after year. All right. So have you found yourself forgetting about perks that you have on your cards, maybe letting your points expire, or even missing credit card bonuses because you didn't meet the minimum spend in time? So, unfortunately, lately, this is a common theme that I've been hearing, especially among new folks who have joined Families Fly Free. So many of them say they have joined because they felt like they were not making the most of the miles and the points and the perks that they have, and really felt like they needed some help and a system to really simplify what they were doing so they could actually start getting the maximum benefit for their time and effort spent. So, what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about some tips to stop wasting your points and perks. And what we're going to start with today, just in today's episode, is how to simplify and specifically how to do that with a travel credit card audit. So, we're going to talk through how to do an audit like that. Now, first, I want to let you know that when it comes to like missing out on points and perks and letting things expire and all of this, like even I do it. So don't beat yourself up over it. We all do it sometimes. I mean, for example, this year I got so frustrated with myself for missing using the $300 travel credit that came on my husband's Capital One Venture X. I remembered the one that's on mine, but I forgot to use his. So that feels like $300 wasted. So again, this happens for everyone from time to time, but if you find that this is happening regularly for you, this is a regular occurrence, and you find yourself frustrated, it might be time to think about a different strategy or a simpler way to do miles and points. So, we're going to talk through one strategy today that you can put into place to help you avoid this truly money losing mistake. None of us want to lose money. And if you'd like a system that's already created and that has worked for more than 1,000 families, come join me inside Families Fly Free, where we've already proven it works, it's simple and easy. So I've also got a free download for you today that summarizes what we're talking about on today's episode, and it is my 5 ways to simplify your travel rewards strategy guide. So if you would like a free download, a free PDF of that, you can text simplify to 844-403-2263. So again, text simplify to 844-403-2263. All right, so here we go. The first thing, if you're missing out on perks and points, that you've got to do is to simplify. And I'm a big proponent of keeping everything in life simple. And that includes miles and points. It does not need to be complicated. It does not have to take a ton of time. Myself, my families do this with success, with minimal effort, and we accomplish all the travel we want to do, and we bring all the people that we want to for free. So, allowing travel rewards to become overwhelming and complicated is what puts many people in paralysis. And this keeps you from actually making a difference in the lives of your family when it comes to your ability to travel. So you might find yourself just stuck and staring at your points balances, afraid to pull the trigger on booking a flight. I hear that all the time. You might get hung up in trying to decide, like, what is the absolute best deal here? And you can't decide, are you making the best decision? And so you just get stuck in that analysis paralysis. So, does this sound familiar? I hear this frequently, again, particularly right now amongst folks who are joining. So, what I recommend instead, if you're finding yourself in this overwhelm and this paralysis, is to start the simplification process. What you want to do is pick an airline that you're going to focus on. And if you're brand new to this, just start there. Just end with the airline you want to focus on. You also, if you're going to work on getting free hotel stays, which again, this can come later once you're more familiar with you've got a strategy that works, and then you can add to it. Pick a hotel chain that you're going to focus on. But it's not a bad idea to have a sense of what those two are going to be as you're beginning the simplification process, even if you don't engage the hotel part till later on. Okay, so one, pick an airline, two, pick a hotel chain, and number three, pick a flexible point system. And I should say on the hotel chain, you could also say we just prefer to stay in vacation rentals or Airbnbs, and so that's going to be our pick for accommodations if you prefer not to stay in a hotel. So third is pick a flexible point system. So the ones out there that we're all most familiar with are Chase, Capital One, Amex, and Citi. So pick one that works well with your chosen airline and your chosen hotel chain. We want one whose points ideally will transfer to both so that you can accomplish everything you want to do within that flexible point system primarily and just move points where you need them instead of trying to collect points in different systems and different airlines, different hotel chains. That's where things start getting complicated. So the first suggestion I'm going to make, and we're just going to cover this one in today's episode, is to audit your travel cards. And this is, of course, if you've been doing miles and points, whether you've dabbled in it or you've been doing it for a while, the people who've been doing it a while are the ones that tend to have ended up with all of these cards and they don't know which ones they need, which ones they don't need. They don't know what to do. And there again, we're stuck in this paralysis point. And that's when a lot of people, again, end up coming to me is for help with, I just don't know which system to focus on. I don't know which cards to keep. I don't know which ones to spend on. Should I leave this one open even though I'm not using it? So let's walk through it. So my first suggestion is gather all your cards, right? Pull them out of your wallet, pull them out of your spouse's wallet, pull them out of your drawers, in your folders, wherever you've got them. Let's gather them all together. So we have a realistic idea of what we're looking at. And if you have a lot, that's okay. We're going to begin the process of paring them down. So don't get overwhelmed at this point. So the first thing you want to do now that you've gathered all of your cards is you're going to make a pile of the cards that you're no longer going to be using. So, for example, if you've decided to pick Southwest as your airline, which, I'm a big fan of, I think that's your best move, especially if you know the tricks and hacks we play inside of Families Fly Free. And particularly if you can use the Southwest Companion Pass, it's just the easiest airline to fly and bring a whole family for free. So let's say you're going to focus on Southwest as your airline. So put all the other airline cards that you may have in this pile of cards you no longer need to be using. So if you've got an Alaska card, and if you've got a Delta card, and you've got an American card, let's put them in this pile, the not using pile, okay? Now, next thing is let's look at your hotel chains, right? So if you've decided to focus on Marriott, for example, put all your other hotel cards in the not using pile. If your flexible point system is going to be Chase, which again is my preferred system to work in with the hotels and airlines that I like to fly as part of my simple system, put your non-Chase cards in this no longer need to be using pile. Okay, so we've now got two piles, a pile of cards we think we want to keep and a pile of cards that we don't think we want to keep using. So let's go back to the pile of cards we don't want to be using. And the next step we're going to do is we're going to look through and we're going to find any cards that have no annual fee. So you might need to log into these different accounts and see what the annual fee is, or you might just Google the name of the card and look at the application page and see what the annual fee is. And if you don't have this stuff organized, like you don't have a spreadsheet of all the cards that you have and your logins and passcodes and numbers, and probably you're going to need that for your family too. Even when you open the card would be ideal. That's something we give you in Families Fly Free. We have all kinds of spreadsheets for keeping track of all of this kind of stuff, including your loyalty programs, your travel credit cards, your flights, how much you've saved using miles and points. We have a spreadsheet where you can just track that. And we have some members who literally do it down to the cent. I am not that organized, but some of them are. So anyway, if you have a spreadsheet, yay for you, you can go and see if you've noted what your annual fee is on there. Okay, so these cards that have no annual fee, we want to keep these cards because there's no harm in keeping a card and not using it. And it's actually beneficial to your credit score to have more credit extended to you. And so these no annual fee cards aren't costing you anything to have whatever credit they've given you extended to you, even if you don't use it. It's a benefit, just the fact that it's been extended to you. So you're going to want to pull these cards out of your wallet, though, if you've decided they're ones that you don't need to be using. If it's an American card and you're focusing on Southwest, if it's a City Strata card and you're going to focus on the Chase system, if it is a Hilton card and you're focusing on Marriott, let's take them out and we're going to set them aside because we no longer need them. We're not going to use these cards, but we're not going to close them either. We're just going to put them in a drawer and put them away. Now, they will eventually close these cards if you don't ever put any spending on them. So you may want to once a year just put something minimal on it, put your Netflix subscription, or just use it once at the grocery store and pay it right off. Just something to keep it active and to keep that credit extended to you active. But again, no harm in keeping a no annual fee card open. And if you're worried about the Chase 524 rule, which is the rule that says that Chase won't approve you for any new cards with them if you've opened 5 cards in the last 24 months, this does not impact that because you've already opened the card. So it already counts as one under that rule. So it no longer can count any further against you than that, whether you leave it open or you close it. All right. So we pulled those aside. Now we're going to go through the remaining cards in the don't need pile. The next set we're going to pull out, aside from the no annual fee cards, are the ones that you've had for 10 years or more. Now, we don't want to close these either because part of your credit score is the length of time credit has been extended to you. That's one of the factors they consider in determining your credit score. So for cards that you've had for a long time, 10 years or more, you want to be careful about closing those because it can have an impact on your score. Now, usually, and I leave this up to your discretion, if you have cards older than the ones we're considering, it's usually okay to close them. But again, it might drop your credit score temporarily. But let's say I know my dad had like an Amex card that he'd had for 40 years or something. So I would never have advised him to close that, even with an annual fee, because that definitely would have been a hit to his credit score. But let's say he had the Amex card, but then he had, a more recent Citi card that was 11 years old. Probably he'd be okay to close this 11-year-old Citi card, knowing that Amex card he was going to keep, and that was his absolute longest one. So, and sometimes we have cards that we might want to reopen again in the future, and you may want to make the decision to close them even if they're old, knowing that they may temporarily reduce your score. So I just want you to hear that it does impact your credit score. And if you can keep them open, if they're older, do. That's just gonna keep your credit score from fluctuating so much. All right. Now we've pulled out our no annual fee cards, we've pulled out our older cards, and so the remaining cards in this pile of cards we don't need to use anymore, we can now consider closing. But a few tips before we do that, before you close any cards. And please know, again, like Inside Families Fly Free, again, this is one of the reasons why I created this program, so I could actually help people through this process, which I can't help, again, tens of thousands of podcast listeners and people on my email list, but I can work with my hundreds of members within Families Fly Free. So we help you go through this process and we advise you which cards to close and which cards to open as part of the onboarding process as a new member. You fill out a questionnaire. You tell us all the cards that you have. If you don't have any, that's fine too. Any points that you have and any programs, what your travel goals are, because that's so important in making decisions. Your goals might be totally different than someone else, and it's not the same process for the both of you. And we also want to know how many people you're trying to fly and travel for free with, because that's going to impact what we recommend too. So you get a very customized plan that's based on my fly free formula, but it's customized to you about what to close, what you may want to open, exactly when you'd want to open it, who should open it. Are you trying to fly to Europe? Here's some strategies to help you get the number of points you need to get there. Are you trying to book a cruise? Are you trying to book an all-inclusive? Here's your strategies for how to accumulate enough points to do that. So if you want a customized experience from experts, come join us. But this is definitely something that you can do yourself as well. And that's what we're talking through today. So, before you close any cards, I recommend that you open any cards that you have determined that you need first. So, this goes back to, we're not going to cover this today, but having an overall strategy for what points you need for your upcoming travels. You don't want to just be throwing spaghetti at the wall, opening cards randomly here or there. That is not a strategy at all, right? And that's how you're going to end up with too many cards and too many programs and an overwhelm. So have a strategy. Okay, we want to go on this trip. What airline do we want to fly? Do we want to try to get our hotel stay for free? Okay, what do we need to be doing and where do we need to be earning points? And are we going to be doing that by opening a card and earning the bonus? Are we going to do it through our everyday spending? Are we going to transfer points from here to there? Have your strategy. So if there's some cards that you need to open, maybe you need to earn a companion pass, a Southwest companion pass, and you need to open a couple of Southwest cards. Okay, you're probably going to want to do that first before we close anything. And the reason is because, again, back to your credit score, we always want to be cautious and aware of the impacts to that. Your credit score is largely based on your debt to credit ratio. And so if you have any debt, and you close a card, that ratio is going to be worse because now you have less credit extended to you compared to the debt that you have. So we want to keep that ratio as high as possible when we're applying for cards so that we have a better chance of approval. So open any cards that you need first before you begin this process to kind of slowly close down any cards that you don't need. So you're not paying annual fees to cards that are not even helpful, that are not part of your strategy, and that are actually causing you to be paralyzed. So what I recommend doing is, once you have any cards open that you need, is slowly start to close these cards, maybe one every couple of months. How do you decide what order to close them in? You want to start with the ones that have an annual fee, that their annual fees coming due soon. So what one has its annual fee renewing the soonest? Start with that one. And you'll want to close them before you pay that annual fee. So we're trying to save you some money here, because we want you to spend minimally to get maximal free travel, to get the maximum out of your points, and to get maximum memories for your family, right? So we are going to have to pay some annual fees on cards. That's just part of it, to pay, $500, $600 total in annual fees in order to get tens of $1,000s of dollars in free travel. It's totally worth it, but let's try to minimize those annual fees as much as we can. So here's something to know before your annual fee comes due. So if you have a card that gives you anniversary points upon your card renewal, so like the Southwest cards all give you varying amounts of anniversary points depending on which card you have. So as low as 3,000 all the way up to 12,000, I think. Um, and another one would be the Capital One Venture X. It gives you 10,000 points on your card anniversary every year. So these anniversary points that you get on these different cards, they're actually due to you for having held the card the previous year. So you're due those points, even if you close the card. So you want to let those points land in your account first before closing the card. And then your annual fee that's charged on your anniversary date is actually for the coming year. So if you're not going to hold the card for the coming year, you don't need to pay the annual fee. So if the annual fee gets charged to your card before the points get dumped into your account, let the points get dumped in, and then typically within 30 days, you can call the bank and ask them to refund that annual fee and close the card. And it even says on your Southwest card statement that you have 30 days to request a refund of the annual fee. So be aware of that. That allows you to get your points, but not have to pay next year's annual fee for a card that you're not even going to hold. All right, so now you've set aside cards you no longer need to focus on, and you should be left with only a handful of cards. Okay. This is the way I like to do it, and it works. You need a flexible points card. Absolutely. This is going to be the key to simplifying. You likely will need an airline card if you're going to be flying for free, because you're going to want to have like the free checked bag perks that come on, say an American or a Delta card. For Southwest, you just need one card, and I recommend the Southwest Priority card because it gives you all of the perks that we're going to need when assigned seating starts in January of 2026. So it includes a free assigned seat at booking. You get an extra legroom seat 48 hours ahead of departure if they are available. We're not sure exactly how that process is going to work, but we are entitled to that. You also get one free checked bag, and you get group 5 of 8 boarding, which we hope will be early enough to have room for a carry-on bag if we need to bring one. But again, you can check one bag per person, and usually that's enough. And so that all those perks work for you and up to 8 people on the reservation. So it has to be under the same confirmation number, plus your companion. Your companion will have a different confirmation number, but they get these free perks too, as long as somebody on this reservation has a Southwest Priority card. So just keep in mind too that if you have someone that, like, let's say you have the Southwest Priority card, but your spouse does not, if they're going to be flying without you, they're not going to be able to get any of those benefits. They're going to have to pay for a checked bag. They're not going to be able to get an assigned seat. They'll have to pay for it. And those are problematic because if you have to change or cancel, like when the price goes down, you lose your seat. You don't get the full price refunded to you. And you end up with a travel credit that has to be used for booking flights if you were to cancel. And that seat credit would come back to you as a credit only to be used for booking for flights, and those are complicated to use. So that's not an ideal situation, but be aware that that is a problem if you both don't have cards and you're going to be flying separately. So you need your flexible points card. You're probably going to need an airline card, and you may have a hotel card, though you can definitely get away with not having a hotel card. I don't have a hotel card, and I don't recommend it in most cases, but it can certainly be helpful if you're planning to earn status with that hotel, and that may be something I work on in the future. It's just not something that is something I want to work on right now, just based on how we're traveling at the moment. You might also want the hotel card's free anniversary night that comes on a lot of different hotel cards. Or maybe it gives you a perk like you get the fourth night free when booking in points, which the IHG, which is Intercontinental Hotels Group, Holiday Inn, Intercontinental Hotel, Indigo, Kimpton, etc. And that's a nice little perk on that card. If you're going to be booking in points, is your fourth one is free when you book in points. All right, so hopefully you're down to 3 or less total cards. So much simpler. Now, you're going to use that flexible points card 99% of the time for all of your everyday spending, and you're going to simply transfer the points, your flexible points, to the airline or to the hotel whenever you need them to book something free. This is so much easier than trying to collect them in that airline or that hotel because then they're inflexible. They can only be used over there, and you got to use different cards for spending. So just focus on the flexible spending card, move points around wherever you need them. Um, Also, you may not need to transfer points. You might be able to book travel directly in your chosen flexible points system travel portal, whether it be the Capital One travel portal or the Chase travel portal or Amex system, etc. Now, the airline and the hotel card are basically just going to give you a few extra perks when flying or staying for free. And if you're working with Southwest as your primary airline and it's more than just you flying, you're definitely going to want to earn the Southwest Companion Pass. So in that case, you do have to employ usually 2 Southwest cards, but sometimes one, depending on the offers at the time. Those are going to help you qualify for the companion pass by earning 1 to 2 bonuses because only bonuses and only points earned on Southwest cards count toward the companion pass. So earning points on Chase Sapphire Preferred does not count toward Southwest companion pass, even if you transfer the points over to Southwest. That's probably the number one mistake I see people make. So you may have to add those when you're ready to get a Southwest companion pass. Make sure you're not earning your pass through everyday spending on a Southwest card because that's a total waste of points. You could be earning more on a flexible card and you could be earning flexible points instead of inflexible points. So put your everyday spending on your flexible card and let those flexible points take care of your flights and hotel stays and maybe even other travel expenses like car rentals too. So this is step one to stop wasting points. Simplify your cards and do a card audit to get yourself down to 3 or less cards. So, don't you feel better already? Just even thinking about this possibility? So, if you want an expert eye and a simple system that tells you the exact cards, airlines, and hotels to employ to maximize your family's, specifically your family's ability to fly and travel for free with the least amount of effort, join Families Fly Free today. And you can check that out at familiesflyfree.com/join. Thanks and see you next week.